Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Sometimes we hear politicians saying, well, we should do this, or maybe we should do this. And then, there are other forces that say, well, no, that person suggested this, and person suggested that, but no, we can't do that. They say, okay, that's great, that cannot be done. You understand that that person who suggested, let's say, using a certain kind of weapons or doing this kind of things or infringing people's rights, or I don't know, mandating them to stay inside their homes because of a certain event, limiting their freedoms and so on. But and they say, well, unfortunately, we can't do this because the Constitution is in our way, or we can't do this because that means that person would do it. So that's very concerning, and you understand what and how that person really thinks. His problem or her problem is not that he would infringe liberties or he would use, let's say, nuclear weapons on another country or something like this. Is that he can't do it because he's got his hands tied behind his back as of now by some little, I don't know, constitutions or something like this. But that tells you who that person really is. He would do it, but he can't. Now we have here the Ukrainians who are crying in about March, April last year that the Russians use cluster munition and white phosphorus. Okay, so they say, well, my God, that's bad. All right, yeah, okay, that's bad, it's bad. I made a video yesterday with some articles where the Germans were concerned by the Ukrainians' request for cluster munition, cluster bombs, and white phosphorus munition. So the Germans say we're concerned about that, we reject that, but those guys asked for it. So those guys have that mindset. Remember, about 11 months ago, 10 months ago, they were complaining and they were pointing out the Russians were doing what they now want to do. So that tells you what kind of brain these people have. So let's see what's going on here. Fortunately, as of now, NATO Secretary General rejects Ukraine's demand, and this is a Ukrainska Pravda, for cluster munition. So this comes from yesterday, February 18th, 2023. So let's see what's going on here. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg rejects Ukraine's demand for cluster munitions and phosphorus incendiary weapons. And I'm quoting, NATO did not recommend or supply these types of weapons. We supply artillery and other types of weapons, but not cluster bombs. Well, you said the same thing about tanks and others, and here you are. Previously, Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Kubrakov called for the provision of cluster munition and phosphorus bombs. The use of both types of weapons is controversial, and cluster munitions are prohibited by international law. Nevertheless, they asked for it. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said on Saturday on the sidelines of the Munich conference that if cluster munitions are provided to Ukrainian forces, these shells will be exclusively used against the Russian army. So he's open to use it, there's no problem, but, and I'm quoting, we have evidence that the Russian Federation uses cluster munition. Okay, but wouldn't that make it okay if you use it too, or what? Or are you going to make it bad? Both bad. We understand that these shells are a controversial issue in the world. We are not part of the convention that bans the use of cluster munition. Therefore, legally, there are no obstacles. And if we receive such shells, they will be used exclusively against Russian military forces, he said. Now let me give you this little scenario. Do you think rape is bad or good? Definitely bad. Let's say you have a community that endorses that kind of behavior. And they say, well, since we didn't, that community or that country has, that's a tradition, it doesn't make it good, does it? Because you forcefully make someone, have intercourse with someone who wants. So however you take it, you say, well, we're not signatory of the Convention Against Rape. But it doesn't make it better. The act is still the act, if you know what I mean. Or, I don't know, sex with minors, that's another BS. It doesn't matter if your country, has it in your law that it's okay. It's still an evil act, however you want to take it. So the same here. This is his argument. Well, it's a controversial issue. The Russians, the bad dudes, are using it. We didn't sign anything about banning it, so technically we're okay with that. So basically they are okay with, you know what I meant. Unbelievable. These are the people that the forces of perfect good are using to fight their war against Russia. Right, let's see what's going on here. Remember this? This is for some time. This is from, it was February or something, March or something. I don't see the title. I don't see the, oh, right, not like that. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is from March right here. Let's see if I can make it. March 25, 2022. All right? And this is what Forbes said. White phosphorus claimed to be used in Ukraine may really be a Russian napalm weapon. All right? So this is how these guys commented the Russian attack. And this guy argues here that therefore legally there are no obstacles. And if we receive some shells, such shells, we will be used exclusively against Russian military forces. Those are people, men. Those are people. We are not part of the convention that bans the use. So this is Forbes. I want to see how Forbes will talk about this Kuleba. He's not going to do anything about it. And then I have this one. This is from The Guardian. Another fantastic, accredited, beautiful media outlet. And this is from 21st of April 2022. Again, Russia using cluster bombs to kill Ukrainian civilians, analysts suggest. All right? Is that a good thing? No, it's not. But Kuleba said, well, we didn't sign anything. Now, let's go to this one. This occurred yesterday as well. Germany criticizes Ukraine's request, not request. Let me show you what's in this title. That's demand. And this is according to the Ukrainska Pravda. And again, I go down here and it says, again, demand. Ukraine's demand. I demand, not request. That's a difference if I request or I demand. Germany criticizes Ukraine's request for cluster munitions and phosphorus bombs. And I tell you why. Not because of from a moral standpoint, I covered that in the video yesterday. Not because they say, well, you know what, that's not right. No, they say we are signatory of this and that, and we don't provide it. So again, it's not like that's wrong. No, we're just signatory of that and so on. You can say, well, why? You can imply that that's wrong because they signed those and they're part of the treaties or agreements that I covered yesterday. And yes, they don't agree with that. But did you see the mentality of the ones that the free world supports? Or not supports, uses to fight those guys? If I use rape, it doesn't make me right if I use rape. If those guys use rape, it doesn't make it right if these guys use rape. Rape is rape. Cluster ammunition and white phosphorus is the same if the good people use it or the bad people use it. That turns you into bad people by using it. But the guy is arguing from a technicality. No, he's not even talking about good or bad. It's just technically I can use it. Nothing stops me from using it. That's his argument. I heard many politicians in this country, United States of America, in New Zealand, in Canada, in Australia, and in some parts of Europe, leaders supposedly talking about certain kind of, well, we should do this when it was the pandemic, if you remember, what they should do with the population. And they came with some very, very, very extreme ideas. And again, they were not arguing if it's right or wrong. They were just technically something stands in our way. And that is a piece of paper that we can change. And they can bypass by a mandate, or we can bypass it by an order, executive order or something. So there are ways to do it. But the idea that you expose yourself. You expose yourself. You say, I would do that, but I can't. Remember, if someone would say, well, I would build, I don't know, camps detention camps or something. And was, well, you can't really do it because it's just, Second World War. And, oh, okay. His idea was to build it. He had to be reminded, or, hey, we can't really do it. Really? So, yeah, these people show who they are little by little. Remember, Zelensky and Kadyrov and some other little weasels that have no power. Why do I say that? Kadyrov has power of using military force, and Zelensky is supposedly in charge of this country, okay, of the Ukrainian nation. And he's, you know what I mean? So when this guy says something that has a different power than, let's say, my neighbor says, okay, let's use this kind of weapons. Okay, you're just a guy over there, or I'm just a guy over here. But the guys with the power is dangerous when they make all kind of statements. You understand their criminal brain. And I'm going to give you the example. Remember the nuclear weapons? They say, well, Putin is going to threaten, Putin this, that. Putin did not say, oh, I'm going to use this, I might use this. No, he said, our nuclear doctrine will be used if the territories that now are part of our country due to the referenda, the will of the people, if they are going to attack that, and we're losing, basically we can, he said, the Constitution is clear about that. Yeah, and he said everything is on the table, or something like that. I can't remember. No limits or something. I'm not bluffing. Everybody was like, oh, he's gonna use nuclear weapons. He never said nuclear weapons. About, yeah, I'm gonna use it. Yeah, well, take it easy. I might use it. It was only two people, as I said, in power that really used the word nuclear weapons. Kadyrov, the Chechen leader, and everybody when he hears about Kadyrov, oh my God, he's an awful person. And Zelensky. And I remember, and I remind you that Zelensky said it in an interview when he said that, well, the Western countries should use preemptive nuclear strikes on Russia. Nuclear strikes on Russia. He said that. Him and Kadyrov. There were some other pundits and other people in the media with no actual power, just with his power, which is bad enough. But remember, Lindsey Graham said at least 2 times that we should take out Putin. That means assassinate another leader of another country. And that's a senator, one of the 100 on this country. What are you? Are you a terrorist? I mean, look at the definition of terrorism and tell me if you would like that to happen. How is that called? Trying to change the political system and the political situation in a country by means of see if that falls under that category. The dictionary is clear about it, so I don't have to say it here. These guys might zip me. So anyway, here it is, my friends. As I said, you can tell how someone thinks, who someone is, by those statements. And then the problem is they don't realize that they think it's acceptable. Whoever doesn't think he said anything wrong. No, but that's the way he thinks. That's the way he is. The law doesn't. I can do it. Yeah, but it's wrong. How about that? No, it's not wrong. There's nothing to stop me, technically. This is the people that get tens of billions of dollars in aid from your children, my children, and so on. Good job. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.